Hayden Sellers, 25 years of age in that Orange 77 out of Danville, Virginia, making only his second ever start in this series.
Just goes to show you how good he is on short tracks. I mean, I was really impressed when I watched his qualifying run. And, you know, to him, he wasn't surprised at all. He expected it. He expected to qualify good and got a lot of experience at this type of racetrack.
Well, he's getting some good experience right here racing around these guys. Brad Keselowski, now Jeff Burton on the outside. Impressed how Burton's car really works on the outside right here.
You know, we didn't expect this car to stay back too long. Burton, he's really good at this track. He's won this thing several times in the Cup Series. He just flat knows how to get around this Virginia track. Hey, let's face it, he's from Virginia.
Yeah, winning in Virginia means a lot to Jeff Burton, and he is just so smooth. You talked about how difficult this track was with a D shape coming up off turn 2. You watch that 29 car, he is Mr. Silky Smooth.
He's been gaining 14th spots so far from the green. Tony Raines also gained 12 spots. Had a great race last week, Tony Raines did.
You know, a team like that really needs it. There's a lot of single-car teams out there. I'm a single-car team, and so is Kevin Harvick. And I can really understand how big it is for Kevin to be leading those points and how big it is for some of these guys at this track to be running good. They target this event, Jerry. They want to run good here.
Rusty, you're a two-car team, aren't you?
Well, I'm a two-car team, but I call myself a single operation. I'm not a Cup-affiliated team.
I got you. I know what. I'm just busting on you a little bit here. How about Jason Leffler? Talking about guys that have had great runs. Leffler has earned more points in the last 6 races than anyone in the series with that runner-up finish at Phoenix a couple of weeks ago.
He's had a pretty solid start. You know, if he can just keep this car out of trouble and just keep going and making good points here, he'll have a shot at this championship maybe.
More on Jason Leffler from Shannon.
Guys, this car that Jason Leffler is driving here today is the same car that he won in at ORP. The car is good right now. He's just got a little bit of a valence rub. And Scott Zipadelli, his crew chief, came over the radio, told his driver, as soon as those air pressures build up, it should be fine. But right now, Jason Leffler looking good.
Tell you what, there's a lot to be said about the same car you won with. That brings so much driver confidence into you. You know, he did win that race at IRP, like Shannon was saying, and he feels good about that car. You know, if he had a car he didn't run here before, he might get nervous, but he's won in that thing, and that's big for a driver, especially in his head.
And what about the chemistry with Scott Zipadelli? That's really working for that 38 team.
That is, you know, it seems like that crew chief driver relationship is just the ultimate thing to success in a race team. They have to get along, and it seems like it's working real well.
You know, Jerry, I'm taking a look at some of the brakes in these cars right now. I noticed the 16 car right there of Matt Kenseth. Front brake rotors are already glowing red. And, man, we're only 34 laps in this race.
One big thing that does is builds air pressure in those front tires, too, and can make the car start pushing more. It's not just the brakes that get hot that you worry about. It's the effects of all the heat.
Now, we have a camera mounted inside the right front fender of the 33 car to show you the rotors, exactly what we're talking about in terms of how hot it is. Look at the glow there.
Well, you see on the straightaway here that is where when you get the cooling effect, then you go down in the corner and you see all of that brake heat. And those pads just clamp down on that rotor and make all this heat. And that's what, you know, the speed is then turned into heat. The energy.
Andy, about how hot are those things running right now? I should know the answer, but I don't know the answer. I mean, it looks awful hot to me.
It's real hot. It's probably around 1,500 degrees.
Wow.
You wouldn't want to touch it.
No, I'm starting to say, keep your finger out of that, baby. That's for sure. But you know, they'll run all night long like that. They look scary looking at them. But they got some of the best brakes in the world on these cars nowadays, and they get hot and stay hot, man.
19th and 20th, Kenny Wallace, a 3-time winner here at Richmond, trying to take the 19th spot away from Bernie Lamar.
He gets it done, too. Herm's on the move.
Tell you what, Kenny's having a good run tonight. He's good and solid. That car's running fast. And watching the lap times, he's right there amongst the top 10 in speeds.
Kenny in the Jay Robinson-owned car was running in the top 10 at Talladega last week and got shuffled out and had an issue, but had a great run going and backing it up with a good run on the short track here in Richmond. The guy they are chasing is from Milwaukee, Oregon, former NASCAR Camping World Truck Series champion, trying to go to victory lane and showing the way here early on at Richmond. Mike Bliss is our leader.
Mike Bliss leading the Lipton Tea 250 here at Richmond International Raceway after a couple of quick cautions. A long green flag run now, and Bliss in that one car's opened up a 2-second lead on second place Kyle Busch. Greg Biffle watching the race with us in the pit studio. What are you seeing so far?
Well, I'm really, excited for the one car, Mike Bliss. Those guys are really running hard. The other thing, I'm usually driving the car, so I don't see the brakes this hot.
Yeah.
They're using a lot of brake up early in this race, and that's important when the end of the race comes to still have brakes. They're going to come in and get new tires with 20 to go, and there's going to be a shootout. But he's still running faster lap times than the rest of the field.
Watching a race for 5th position here. Jason Leffler, 38. Kevin Harvick, 33. Carl Edwards in 60 there, knocking around.
Yeah, Carl Edwards hadn't really been up front a lot tonight. That's really surprising. I suspect he's up marching his way towards the front. Usually the Roush cars are really good here. So I suspect to see Carl Edwards up leading some laps pretty soon.
All right, so now that that's settled out, let's check some stories on some of those at the front of the field. Time for our nationwide insurance up to speed. Shannon's got the leader's pit.
Alan, if you believe in momentum, this team right here has it on their side. This number 1 team is doing very well. They won the Cup race last week. Of course, you see team owner looking on. I asked Mike Bliss before the race if he thought he could win here tonight. He said, if I stay up front, I have a very good chance. The car getting a little tight for Mike Bliss. Dave?
Championship leader Kyle Busch has lost sight of Mike Bliss right now. Look how far back he's fallen. But with no one pressuring him, this very tight race car is just maneuvering through traffic right now. They expect to make a big change on this car. It will not turn in the corners for Kyle. Jamie?
Well, Dave, today all of the Roush Fenway cars unloaded, and they called it, they said they were a little off. They said they were tight. The cars didn't want to turn. You're looking at Matt Kenseth in the 16. They made a bunch of changes, came out in qualifying, and it paid off. He was on the pole. So far, though, he said that car is crazy loose on exit. Look for changes in the first pit stop.
Shannon? Jamie, Joey Logano right now is saying that the car is loose, but it's really coming to him in the turns. In practice today, they were really unsure about how this car was going to be. Joey said every time he went out, the tires got a little more wear on him, so he really couldn't tell exactly what the car was doing. But expect some changes when they come down for the very first pit stop. Now, Jason Leffler in that 38 car, what a run for these guys this season. Right now, the car is good for Jason Leffler. Like I said, it was the same car from ORP, but Leffler told me today that the biggest change that this team has had is Scott Zipadelli. He said it's a complete 180 with him sitting on top of the pit box this season. Alan?
All right, so updates on some of the top 5. So what's a driver do on a Friday night in Richmond when he's a racer and he's not running in the race? Well, Greg Biffle's here with us in the pit studio, and Denny Hamlin goes in the grandstand in the hat right there in the middle of all his people. See him in the white there?
Yeah, he's hanging out. That's awesome, man.
Virginia driver hanging out in the stands watching the racing at his hometown track. We are 54 laps into the 250 in tonight's event. Mike Bliss is your race leader at the action track. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.